Yo, how is everybody doing today? Are we feeling sufficiently liberated after this wild week? Let me know in chat how you guys are doing. I'm excited for this stream. I want to go over some news for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can hop into this Jubilee debate. Everyone says they're doing well, having a good day. A lot of chaos. We'll go over some of it. The whole point of this live stream, essentially, is to go over my debate on the Jubilee live channel, or the Jubilee YouTube channel. I flew out to LA about a month ago, a little under a month ago, and I did a debate with a few MAGA supporters and a leftist for a YouTube channel that has 10 million subscribers. Yo, what's up, Lasan? No liberation, just lame? Yeah, I agree. But yeah, we did a debate on Jubilee, and we talked about a few key topics. So we talked about Trump's tariffs, DOGE and Elon Musk, the Russia-Ukraine war, Luigi Mangione, the dude who killed that CEO. We talked about Trump deporting protesters, all wrapped into a little bit over an hour debate, and it's a really good watch. So I want to go through and break down some of the stuff that happened, the process of recording it, and yeah, I think it'll be a really fun watch. Just to start off with some of the news today, after Trump supporters yesterday were celebrating that the stock market had one spike after Trump sunk it, basically, he plunged it into disaster, and when it recovered like 60%, they said that it was a massive win, and it was the art of the deal. Tiffany Fong, a MAGA person on Twitter, said, "Thank you, Mr. President Trump." This was 21 hours ago when the stock market rallied. And then today she said, "Why is everything red again? WTF happened?" And just so you guys know, a few key things happened over the past 24 to 48 hours. First of all, the stock market's not going to recover permanently because Trump is still doing damage with broad blanket tariffs of 10%. There are also massive tariffs on China at the moment. I believe it's 145%, but it continues to go up like every 5 hours. So I believe it's 145%. These massive tariffs on China, coupled with China and Japan dumping their bonds, caused the U.S. stocks to slide even more today, just worsening the crisis that Trump created. And did you guys see this clip of Trump talking in the Oval Office yesterday to Charles Schwab and a few other rich friends and bragging about how much they made? Did you guys hear about this?
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million.
He said they made $2.5 billion today. He made $900 million. So after the past week of these arguments, basically conservatives saying that Democrats don't actually care about Main Street, they only care about Wall Street. Now Trump has literally Mr. Wall Street himself, Charles Schwab, who I don't have a problem with. I don't know. Charles Schwab comes into the White House, and Trump is bragging that he made $2.5 billion off of the back of Trump's stock market fiasco, his stunt, where he said earlier in the day, now is a good time to buy. And let me point out, just because they're up $2.5 billion in speculative wealth doesn't mean they're actually gained $2.5 billion of liquidity. They're not actually $2.5 billion richer. It's all speculative. But still, Trump is pulling stunts. For everybody joining, in just about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be breaking down my Jubilee debate. It's a really good debate about Trump's tariffs. There's actually a funny story. There are a few funny stories that I want to tell about it, but we'll get there. To continue, to go back 1 second, actually. So after Trump had Charles Schwab and a few other billionaires in the White House yesterday, Mehdi Hassan tweets out, "Why are Democrats not cutting ads to run today on every platform featuring this clip?" And it's true. This clip perfectly shows that Trump only cares about the rich people around him. How do you crash the market, have everybody panicking, and say that Democrats are basically rooting for the billionaires because we're actually fixing manufacturing, and then you have billionaires in your White House and you brag about how much they made? It makes no sense. Completely contradictory, as everything else is. What about this? Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently bought ticker sign RH during the tariff dip. Is that the Robin Hood? Or what is that? What is RH? Oh, no, it's not. Never mind. Marjorie Taylor Greene is currently insider trading, allegedly. It all caught our attention. No, it makes complete sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Sorry, going back to this. This is pretty wild. Marjorie Taylor Greene bought ticker sign RH during the tariff dip. It caught our attention because this was her first time ever buying the stock. It's up 27% today after the announcement of the tariff pause. Absolutely wild. It is blatant corruption to the highest degree. And let me remind you what Trump posted just a few hours before he paused tariffs. He said, now is a great time to buy. Let's see what he's posting today. It's so hard to watch as highly qualified and respected ambassadors, blah, blah, blah. Congratulations to the new passage of a bill. By the way, a bill that will very likely strip Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP benefits. Trump also held a cabinet meeting today. There's one clip I want to go over from the cabinet meeting. I mean, we could spend all day on the cabinet meeting before we get to this Jubilee debate, but this is the clip I really want to highlight when it pertains. Cabinet meeting.
And I was a kid. And we are going, at your direction, we are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a few things that RFK Jr. says here that kind of pisses me off. He says, the autism epidemic, we have to figure out what's causing it. He's presupposing there that there's some sort of autism epidemic when it's very simple. We've gotten way better at detecting and analyzing autism. We realize that it's a spectrum. And now many more people are designated autistic. It's just, in the 1940s, we didn't have the mechanisms in place to thoroughly go through and see who was autistic and who, we didn't understand it. We hadn't studied it. Now we've developed the processes and the tests to understand that it's a spectrum and people can have autisms in different forms. There's not some sort of epidemic. So it's the causation correlation fallacy where as medicine progresses, RFK Jr. thinks that vaccines are causing autism when it's actually just our ability to detect it improving, right? It's very, very simple. And I remember arguing about this in college with some dude I went to class with because he started spouting anti-vax conspiracy theories during a group project. And I remember making these same arguments. I was like, dude, the causation correlation just does not line up here. But, you know, it's different. It's different coming from my friend in college compared to the actual acting health secretary. That is a little bit terrifying. And then Trump responds after, it might be the shots. So we currently have conspiracy theorists in the White House. By the way, the dude that came up with the original claim that vaccines caused autism, he had his license revoked. He came out and said he was wrong. He had his whole career nuked. There has never been any sort of evidence that vaccines cause autism. And the fact that this is being said in a cabinet meeting is terrifying. Elon Musk was also at the cabinet meeting, despite him having some problems with the cabinet, you could say. Elon Musk has been pushed out over the past few weeks, not fully, but they're saying that he is a political liability. They said he's a, quote, political liability and he needs to be distanced. Someone asked, what bills passed? There was the SAVE Act, I believe it was called, the SAVE Act, which is about voting. It actually makes it harder for certain women or people with disabilities to vote. And then overnight, a blueprint passed through the House for Trump's budget plan. And that blueprint, I believe, is $4 trillion, right? And $1.5 trillion in cuts that target Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP benefits. I knew about SAVE. Yeah, that's the SAVE Act. We can read about it really quickly, and then we'll hop into this debate. But now that we have 1,500 people in here, how is everybody doing? This is going to be a fun live stream. We're just getting started. How the House's requirement to prove U.S. citizenship could affect the ability to register to vote. It's going to make it harder for people to register to vote, harder for people to vote. If you're a minority or you're a disability of any sort, this could affect, or you have a disability of any sort, this could affect you even more. So the House on Thursday approved legislation requiring documentary proof of U.S. citizenship for anyone registering to vote, which on its face sounds normal. If you're registering to vote, yes, you want to show citizenship, but some of the voting laws that they put into place in states like North Carolina were found to target black communities or disabled people with surgical precision. I've gone over this on multiple streams. they would target black communities with surgical precision by making sure they only introduce new types of ID that are really hard for black Americans to get. So you can see this on a broader scale. Yes, we only want American citizens voting. Of course, we only want American citizens voting. Don't ever let Republicans trap you into that. Always just bite the bullet. It's not even biting the bullet. You can just admit, we don't want illegal immigrants voting in our elections. That's not our goal, but you just have to make sure when you put these mechanisms in place, you are not making it harder for actual citizens to vote. You want, ideally, the lowest barrier possible for American citizens to vote. So you know what would be a good bill? If the House were to pass the SAVE Act and they did all of this, but then when you turn 18 years old, you are sent a free ID, and this ID allows you to vote in any election, state, local, federal, like anything, any type of election. And once you have this ID, it cannot be duplicated, it cannot be faked, and this, just like your normal ID, you get it for free when you're 18 years old. Would you guys be down for that? Because then that lowers the barrier for people to be able to vote. I actually think more people would vote if you maybe gave a day off for voting. I mean, they're claiming they want to make it easier for American citizens to vote and stop illegal, undocumented immigrants from voting. But if that were the case, you would give everybody a free ID to go vote, and you would give everyone a day off or some sort of holiday. Ideally, that would be the case. But now that we've gone over some of today's news, why are Republicans against science? I don't know. They have this huge anti-intellectual, anti-establishment wing that gets kind of scary. Because whether it's through COVID or through tariffs, when you push away experts, you're left with Signal group chat type fiascos, right? It is surreal that Kennedy is anywhere near the White House. Yep, I ate my words pretty hard because I remember about a year ago, I was debating with my friend who was sort of anti-establishment. He liked RFK Jr., and I said, this dude's not going to win the election. He's never going to get anywhere close to power. He's a clown. Little did I know, RFK Jr. would sell his soul 3 months later and Trump would just eat it up. How is everybody doing today? We are about to react to an awesome debate that I did. Right now, we're just talking about the stock market. Tiffany Fong is not too bright. Yep, she tweeted out 21 hours ago, "Thank you, Mr. President Trump." All excited. And then she tweeted out today, "Why is everything red again? WTF happened?" Just one more time, I want to run through this. Mehdi Hassan, why are Democrats not cutting ads to run today on every platform featuring this clip? And it's Trump in the White House. After Republicans spent the past week arguing and essentially saying that Democrats are prioritizing Wall Street over Main Street, Trump has Wall Street in the Oval Office and is bragging about how Charles Schwab made $2.5 billion. And how his other billionaire buddies made $900 million. Check this out.
It's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad. Because, you know, he's in financials. I've always been following. This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company. It's actually an individual.
What is up, Midas Mighty? How's everybody doing? We are right about to... What's up, Ben? Thank you, Ben. We are right about to go over my debate on this Jubilee channel. Right now, we're kind of just going over the news over the past 24 to 48 hours, all of the stock market fiascos. How is everybody doing today? Super happy to be here with everybody. Adam, you should get with Dean Withers. Yeah, we're friends. We could do a debate at some point soon. He's a good friend of mine. But I was just talking about how Mehdi Hassan said, why are Democrats not cutting ads to run today on every platform featuring this clip of Trump inviting Wall Street into the Oval Office and bragging about how much they made off of the back of his stunt? What's up, everybody? Amazing seeing the Midas Mighty in here. What's up, Susan? What's up, Vicky? Love seeing everybody. I was just going over Tiffany Fong as well. Look at this MAGA commentator who tweeted out yesterday, "Thank you, President Trump," after the market went up a little bit. And then she tweeted out today, "Why is everything red again? WTF happened?" Marjorie Taylor Greene reportedly bought ticker sign RH during the tariff dip. And then it went up 27% the next day. This is wild. Marjorie Taylor Greene allegedly bought ticker sign RH during the tariff dip. It caught our attention because it was her first time ever buying the stock. It is up 27% today after the announcement of the tariff pause. Absolutely wild stuff. And on top of all of that, the House passed the SAVE Act. And we were just saying on stream, we only want U.S. citizens to be able to vote. That is something that we can all agree on. But if you want U.S. citizens to be able to vote, you have to lower the barrier for them to be able to. Make it as easy as possible by making a national holiday for voting, or by sending out voter ID, or sending out IDs to everybody when they turn 18. What if when you turn 18, you get a unique free ID that allows you to vote in state and federal elections, or local elections, or participate? That would be great. But no, we get this bill, which makes it harder for women to vote, harder for disabled people to vote. And we could talk about this later, but the main reason we're here is to go over this Jubilee debate, and let's start now. During this debate, we talk about Trump's tariffs, we talk about DOGE and Elon Musk, the Russia-Ukraine war, Luigi Mangione, remember the dude that killed that healthcare CEO. We talk about Trump targeting college students at campuses. It's an entirely well-rounded debate. Well, half of the people are well-rounded. I really liked the people that we debated against, too. I'll get into that as well. I'll get into some of the conversations we had during our breaks and afterwards. I could even show you some videos of when I arrived on set. So you can see on camera right here, this is what it looked like when we were debating. But when we got there on set, we walked in, and it was this massive room with these lights. And they told me I could take these videos. But it was wild. Biggest production I've ever been a part of. And then right when they hit record, we jump into it. You can see on the right, U.S. recession is topic 1, then Mahmoud Khalil, then Luigi Mangione, then Trump/Putin. Hell yeah. Adam's live, I haven't even caught one of these. Hell yeah. If you want to help boost this live to more people, spam some blue hearts. Drop a like on the stream. It's free. Just scroll down and hit the like button. Let's hit 2,000 likes, and let's jump into this. Then we play F. Mary Deport with Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, and Trump. I don't know why they made us do this. They also said they'll most likely cut it out, so I said some wild stuff, and they didn't cut it out. So when the video went live, I was like, what the fuck? I thought you guys were going to cut this out. But either way, whatever. Hell yeah. Spamming some blue hearts. And let's jump into this. So the interesting thing is, really quickly, we filmed this mid-March, and I flew to LA on very short notice. I learned about this 48 hours before, and when I flew out there, we debated about the tariffs. It was very timely. But then my entire argument, which you'll see in a second, largely hinges on the fact that Trump is tanking the stock market, largely hinges on the fact that Trump is very unpredictable. And right after this debate, the stock market started to kind of recover a lot, right? The stock market went up, it recovered. And I was happy it recovered, but I was thinking, man, my talking point in this debate is kind of moot now because the market has since recovered since we did this. But then, 2 days before this debate comes out, Trump does his Liberation Day, and the market drops 10+%. It was like 8 to 12% in one day, and then my talking point was still valid, which is kind of messed up because my talking point was only valid because people lost a shit ton of money, but my talking point was still valid. So let's start here. Mockler, are you really 6'8"? No, I'm not that short. The Elon Musk live stream? Yep, I'm going to make a video about that later. All right, let's jump in. Really quickly, I'm going to start a poll in chat. I'm going to start this poll. And I want you guys to vote. Have you seen this Jubilee yet? Have you seen my episode yet? Yes or no? Oh, that is amazing. I'm not going to lie, that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a lot of people who are here for the first time to watch it. All right, let me do my intro for the video I'm going to make out of this, and then we'll go. All right, last month, I flew to LA on short notice to participate in this Jubilee debate. It is called Leftist versus Liberal versus Conservative versus MAGA. It is a middle ground debate where we debate Elon Musk, DOGE, is Trump causing a recession, Russia versus Ukraine, and I want to react to it and expand on some of the talking points I made. Talk about where I could have done better. Talk about the overall experience, because as I arrived in LA, I walked in and I had never been on a set like this before. I had never been on a set like this. Massive set, huge lights. We had 4 balls, and you are either green if you agree or red if you disagree. So let's jump into this debate. It says that 76% of people in chat have not seen this debate yet. So I think it's going to be incredibly interesting to talk about my experience, and it'll be fun. Let's start.
When you say that Luigi Mangione shouldn't be able to unilaterally kill anybody, people on the other side, I don't know if I agree with this, they'd say that Brian Thompson, the CEO, was making the decision to kill people with his healthcare company.
I mean, I think that Brian Thompson arguably should have been tried. Like, I think that, again, going back to due process, Brian Thompson was denied his right to due process. Do I think that he was, like, somewhat responsible for the deaths of 400,000 people? Probably. Yeah. Probably, yeah.
Turn up the volume. I got you. Let me know if this is better. Is the volume better?
When you say that Luigi Mangione shouldn't be able to unilaterally kill anybody, people on the other side, I don't know if I agree with this, they'd say that Brian Thompson, the CEO, was making the decision to kill people with his healthcare company.
I mean, I think that Brian Thompson arguably should have been tried. Like, I think that, again, going back to due process, Brian Thompson was denied his right to due process. Do I think that he was, like, somewhat responsible for the deaths of 400,000 people? Probably. Yeah. Probably, yeah.
I think that's a better balance, audio-wise. Boom.
My name is Adam, and I am a liberal.
My name is Luke, and I'm a conservative.
My name's Naima, and I'm a leftist.
My name's Chandler, and I'm MAGA.
This article says, recession fears and Elon Musk batter Trump's approval rating.
Guess which one I'm going to get into it with the most here? Who do you think I'm going to be debating a shit ton? Back and forth.
Is Trump causing a recession? 3, 2, 1. I'll jump in. I don't think that we're in a recession, but I think Trump's erratic and unpredictable economic behavior is damaging the economy. You can see it in multiple indicators. The S&P 500 was down 10% this week. The Atlanta Federal Reserve said the GDP is going to contract in Q1, and you can draw a direct line between Trump's flip-flopping on tariffs and the stock market crashing, because we can all agree, businesses thrive in a predictable environment. You need to know how many resources to allocate where, at what time. And when Trump is creating such an unpredictable economic environment, yeah, it's going to hurt the stock market. Yeah, CEOs are going to come out and say, this is not good.
One thing about the stock market is a gauge at what we call micro horizon of where the economy is going to be in a short-term gain. Trump's approach to the economy is, instead of using the word recession, I use the word detox. He's trying to reset this economy of terrible 4 years that we've gone through, and his stance on tariffs goes back to that long-term game. He wants to have a medium to long-term gain for the average American. He's not focused on making our next 2 to 6 months great. He wants the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years to be great. And I think setting up tariffs like that, it is going to be a situation where it is a detox. It's probably going to get a little worse before it gets better, because he has a lot that he has to reset.
I love how he's throwing around the word detox, and I wasn't allowed to jump in quite yet and respond and start debating. But the funny thing is, Trump ran on lowering prices on day one, and now their entire argument hinges around the long term. He's like, no, the stock market is too short of an indicator, even though, yes, there are more indicators in the stock market. It is a good indicator of how the market is feeling. And when the stock market drops 10%, then yes, people are scared. There's uncertainty, there's unpredictability. So when he throws around the word detox over and over and over, like this is some plan that Trump is hatching and it's gonna like land in 6 to 12 months, it's just so stupid. And you know what? Their arguments have already aged poorly, because Trump's argument for why he was doing this, the detox, has already changed. He's not even doing the detox anymore. Now the argument's completely different because he removed the tariffs yesterday.
When Trump announced his tariffs, the auto industry, the big three in the auto industry had been very much against Trump's tariffs, just because a lot of the suppliers of the materials that are used in the auto industry and in American manufacturing are sourced from Mexico, and there are no American suppliers of those things. So when Trump...
1 second. Let me switch over to this tab.
Well, I think the reason that we see this certain right
Have
now,
skyrocketed since Trump.
When Trump announced his tariffs, the auto industry, the big three in the auto industry had been very much against Trump's tariffs, just because a lot of the suppliers of the materials that are used in the auto industry and in American manufacturing are sourced from Mexico, and there are no American suppliers of those things. So when Trump first announced his tariffs on Mexico, the Dow dropped by 1,300 points. So how do you reconcile that as not being the direct cause of what could potentially become a financial recession?
well, I think the reason that we see this is that for decades now, we've been exporting manufacturing, exporting these various goods to other countries instead of performing these actions within our own country, so much so that companies have gotten used to the affordability of it and the ease of access of it, of saying, oh, hey, we don't have to spend all this money to do it in America when we can do it somewhere else, because we had so many states and our country as a whole where it was difficult to do business. It was expensive to do business.
Remember, that's not even the argument that Trump's making now. Even Trump is making a completely different argument than Chandler's making here. MAGA is not on the same page whatsoever. Every single MAGA pundit and MAGA politician, they were all making different arguments as to why the tariffs were in place. And then now that Trump removed the tariffs, they're all unified in saying that it was genius.
Now, with Trump potentially levying these tariffs, and the great thing I say is potentially is that so many of these tariffs are more so bargaining chips, and they haven't really been placed in most places yet against Canada or Mexico that have actually resulted in these tariffs being charged. For instance, we saw it with Canada. Canada actually, in various places, and not in every place, but with certain tariffs, particularly with energy between Ontario and America, they actually reduced their tariffs. And certainly there's going to be some back and forth going on, and the new Canadian Prime Minister might say, oh, hey, well, we want a 90% tariff on this. Trump's saying, okay, well, we're going to match that tariff rise. This is kind of a back and forth trade war or trade negotiation that we've seen from Trump in his first term, and I imagine we'll see it throughout the rest of this term.
Again, this is not even what Trump's doing. None of this has come to fruition. Trump's backed down every single time.
As he works to, as Luke very aptly said, detox what has been the last 4 years of pain for our economy. And you might see a little bit of stock market shifting, but you kind of always see that. I mean,
It's not shifting, it's going down.
It's going down
yeah,
a
that's
lot.
not a shift.
Yeah, and
yeah,
the thing is,
but we're talking about the stock market, but we aren't talking about things that actually affect most people, like the consumer price index, inflation, more indexes of like egg prices, gas prices. These things are going back down.
They're not, by the way.
And the inflation is going down.
It's not.
No, they're not.
They are.
egg prices
right
have
now.
skyrocketed since Trump took office.
Yeah,
So
When's the last time you bought eggs?
You're
So
right.
here's the thing.
Can I say really quickly? You're right that the stock market is just one indicator, but the idea that Trump is doing this purely to reshore manufacturing is not even backed up by Trump. Trump has played these weird tariff games where he says, I want less fentanyl at the border. And then after there's less fentanyl, he completely switches his stance. He has no coherent
because
goal with
he
them.
achieved what he was trying to get.
At the same time, so if he achieved what he's trying to get, why did he replace the tariffs on Canada? That's
Because,
entirely
okay, so he's
inconsistent and
talking about
incoherent.
something completely different there, and that's the exact point you're making. For instance, the original tariffs we were going to place on Mexico and Canada was about fentanyl and was about illegal immigration.
They clearly weren't, because Trump then
Well, yes,
replaced
exactly.
tariffs.
Actually, they were, because right after he placed those,
They weren't. So Trump placed tariffs and said he wanted a specific concession. Then after he got that concession, he didn't actually get it. He then replaced the tariffs. So that means it wasn't actually about fentanyl, because you just want an excuse to place tariffs.
was planning to place them, the Mexican president announced, oh, we're going to be placing soldiers at the border.
This is an entirely terrible talking point for a few reasons. Number one, all of the concessions that Trump got from Sheinbaum and Trudeau had already been conceded months prior. That $1.3 billion bill that Trudeau introduced had been introduced in December of 2024. You can look this up on the...
I will look it up. Trudeau, $1.4 billion bill. Let's see. The border bill. This was released on December 17th of 2024. On December 17th of 2024, backed by an investment of $1.3 billion and built around 5 pillars. This entirely debunks what Chandler's claiming here, that Trump got any concessions whatsoever.
And we'll see it throughout the rest of this term as he works to, as Luke very aptly said, detox what has been the last 4 years of pain for our economy. And you might see a little bit of stock market shifting, but you kind of always see that. I mean,
It's not shifting, it's going down.
It's going down
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
not a shift.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
thing is,
but we aren't talking. We're talking about the stock market, but we aren't talking about things that actually affect most
Yeah,
people,
so-
like the consumer price index, inflation, more indexes of like egg prices, gas prices. These things are going back down, and the inflation is going down.
Okay.
Soldiers at the border.
They said most.
this is an entirely terrible talking point for a few reasons. Number one, all of the concessions that Trump got from Sheinbaum and Trudeau had already been conceded months prior. That $1.3 billion bill that Trudeau introduced had been introduced in December of 2024. You can look this up on the Canadian website. The same thing with Sheinbaum. Actually, Biden got 15,000 troops to the border in his first year. And I just want to say that if Trump is trying to
Biden did get 10,000 troops. It was 10 to 15, and he didn't even need to start a trade war. Look at that. You can just call our allies and talk to them.
reshore manufacturing, the strategy that you take is leaving a grace period. Doesn't it take 6 months to a year for American companies to build these manufacturing plants, to hire workers? If he's actually trying to reshore manufacturing, as you claim, leave a grace period. And also, you said that Trump isn't being unpredictable. It's more about consistency. Would you call Trump's tariffs thus far consistent?
I didn't say he's being. I didn't say anything related to him. I just said most businesses would thrive with consistency.
So let me rephrase. Do you think that Trump has created an environment that's consistent for businesses to thrive?
For short term, no, because he's looking at a long-term goal.
Oh my lord. So he just conceded right there. Trump in the short term is not creating an environment that's good for businesses to thrive. And then he says in the long term, maybe they'll thrive. But didn't Trump run on day one? Literally, he said day one.
And
What
you
is
guys,
the long
I mean,
term?
I wanted to touch because I'm focused more on recession, relating that back towards the
Can I ask one question really quickly?
When I'm done, yeah. So bringing it back towards the United States economy, you guys were talking about egg prices skyrocketing. Egg prices have gone down to I think $6.85 a dozen, which is $1.20 less than what they were a few months
Where?
ago.
This isn't even true, but this isn't even like a point that matters in particular. The exact price of eggs isn't the point that we're talking about. It's the overall unpredictability of the tariffs. There's a broader point here.
From what though?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's
actually,
the national average right now.
Now,
Same
what
thing
was the
with-
national average at when Trump took office and over the past
But
month?
see, I'm
though?
not looking at we can blame him
So
for
the
this. I'm
national
looking
average
at where
when
we're at
Okay, so now he's not looking at how it's changed. He's just, it's all.
right
took
now.
office was about $6.50. Now they're actually down to $5.50 in just about a few weeks. And the
Didn't they spike up to $8 in between that?
reason we saw the egg prices go up, and I don't know how far we want to get into this, was because we had the H5N1 virus
course,
that
yeah.
started in 2022, and the Biden administration did next to nothing about that. On top of all the various other squeezing and regulations that were hitting farmers, these chickens had no choice but to catch the virus and then get killed. 58 million chickens have died, thus causing a sort of supply and demand issue where, hey, everybody wants eggs. Oh my God, there's no chickens left to make the eggs. We have these chickens finally starting to get hatched and finally starting to be of age where they can produce eggs again. That's what's going to cause those prices to go
So
down.
if we know that there is a flu that is affecting the
There
amount
was.
that okay. So if we know that there was a flu that is affecting the amount of eggs that chickens can produce, why would you place tariffs on a huge manufacturer of our resources
That is an amazing question.
in terms of food?
to reshore
That is a really good question.
manufacturing, bro.
Like
prices to go
so
down.
if we know that there is a flu that is affecting the
There
amount
was.
that okay. So if we know that there was a flu that is affecting the amount of eggs that chickens can produce, why would you place tariffs on a huge manufacturer of our
Their priority is America. Oh, sound gone? Is it back? Oh, the screen stopped. My bad. My bad. Okay. I got you. Let me go back.
Our resources in terms of food.
To reshore manufacturing, bro.
Like, that doesn't make sense. If there's already an issue in which we have less eggs, why would you put more taxes on eggs?
Because our priority is America, and our priority is the
But if your
American
priority is
people.
America and there's an
He's claiming his priority is America. Let me go back like 20 seconds because this is a good moment. Sorry, I didn't know it froze.
tariffs on a huge manufacturer of our resources in terms of food.
To reshore manufacturing, bro.
Like, that doesn't make sense. If there's already an issue in which we have less eggs, why would you put more taxes on eggs?
Because our priority is America, and our priority is the
But if your
American
priority is
people.
America and there's an issue with supply, why would you make it
Also-
harder to get that supply?
Does it not bother you guys that Trump's main promise was to lower prices on day one, and both of you guys just gave the argument that, hey, maybe in 6 to 12 months after some economic pain that Trump and Elon Musk are completely insulated from, by the way, wasn't Trump's promise to lower prices on day one?
Well, prices are
and
lower. I mean, the price of
prices
gas is
literally
at
are
the
lower.
lowest since 2021.
The Target CEO just came out and said that prices are going to have to go up. Even Tesla just wrote a letter to the Trump administration saying, dude, our cars are going to be hurt if you actually tariff Canada for no reason.
Trump just republished an op-ed called "Shut Up About Egg Prices." Like,
literally.
what are we talking about?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, but we're seeing prices are going down. The price of gas is the lowest since 2021. And we're also seeing the CPI this past month was 0.2%, which was substantially lower than what it was estimated. And we even see liberal networks like CNN speaking out how the economy is getting better.
Again,
if you have a progressive channel like that, then that means things must actually be getting better.
I'm going to take the position, and you guys aren't going to like this. Biden handed the economy to Trump on a silver platter. If you look at any of these,
Yeah, a shattered silver platter,
can
maybe.
you name me one
I like how they laugh, but they can't watch.
indicator that isn't on a consistent trend from the Biden presidency? Is there one? Did the unemployment growth on January 21st randomly did the unemployment randomly drop on January 21st?
Because this is the thing. They're claiming that Trump's economy is rapidly getting better and better. The Trump's economy is basically like great, right? He's making America great again. Yet every single thing that Trump is claiming, every single indicator, it was off of the back of Biden's economy. And now this silver platter that Biden handed to Trump is not looking too good because Trump decided to tariff every country. But watch, I asked him, like, can you name an indicator that where like Trump fixed it? Name one indicator that Trump fixed.
Growth on January 21st randomly did the unemployment randomly drop on January 21st? Is there an indicator that's not off of the back of what Biden was already building with his plans?
Yeah, so I can give you something that Biden destroyed. We had oil production, and oil production is something that's very important within our country. It obviously is our energy independence. It's something that goes into the gas prices. On day one, Joe Biden placed numerous regulations and executive orders to halt so much oil production in our country that while we were still growing our oil production, we had a 4% average growth rate during his presidency. Meanwhile, during the Trump presidency, we saw between 11 to 13% average growth rate during those years. That is a very major indicator of, oh my gosh, there's a problem. And that's why we saw, on top of numerous other factors, the gas prices get so bad. And, you know, we talk about the stock market and we talk about these tariffs. These things aren't actually here yet. They aren't actually hurting Americans yet. And the point that Luke
Because
and
he
I
keeps pausing them. Why does he keep pausing them?
Because
if
he's
it's
a
such a good
negotiator.
idea,
He's
but
a
if it's such a good
businessman.
idea, why would he
What's
keep
the concession he's
like-
trying to get from Canada right now? Okay, so we've talked about this. At first, it was fentanyl, but then you said he switched the concession that he's trying to get from Canada and Mexico. What is it now? What's the concession he's trying to get?
The concession he's trying to get, and it's numerous things. So, for instance, one of the tariffs that we're talking about right now is steel. Steel is Canada is one of the largest exporters of steel to our country, and something that we're really trying to work on is, as Luke mentioned, get our manufacturing back together. And you're making this whole joke about, oh my gosh, shore up manufacturing.
It takes time, man.
Yeah,
does
actually,
take
I do
time.
want to.
It takes a lot of time. So there's a few things wrong with what he just said. First of all, if that was Trump's goal the entire time, to reshore manufacturing, then he wouldn't have played these crazy games in his first month where he asked for fentanyl. He asked for less fentanyl crossings, which there were basically none. Fentanyl crossings were at an all-time low at the northern border. And at the southern border, he asked for troops, which is a totally meaningless concession because Biden got the same thing without tariffs. So he's just been looking for excuses to start tariffs, and then his supporters post hoc rationalize and justify the tariffs. And here's the thing. Chandler's entire argument depends on the idea that Trump is keeping these tariffs in place permanently to reshore manufacturing. Yet Trump has already lifted the vast majority of the tariffs. I know the steel ones are still in place, but
No. What is the plan to increase American manufacturing?
In 1 month, every company is going to build a manufacturing plant in every city, and they're going to hire all of these.
Well, we're not making the argument that it's going to be instant. We're patient.
But what is the plan?
But the tariffs are instant. That's the thing. The tariffs have been instant so far. Whenever he places them, I mean, right now we have tariffs in place, by the way. We have 10% tariffs on every country and 145% tariffs on China. So he's kind of treating it like they would instantly move here.
Plan.
Okay, the plan is
concepts
to have
of a plan.
There are real concepts of a plan, and they're going to come through.
There are real concepts of a plan, and they're going to come through.
What is the plan?
Okay, the plan is
concepts
to have
of a plan.
There are real concepts of a plan, and they're going to come through.
So what are
they? Okay, well, if you let me say it. We have numerous companies. For instance, we have Intel and numerous other companies that are announcing they're going to be opening manufacturing plants, TSMC opening manufacturing plants in America to create chips, a whole lot better than the so-called Chips and Science Act, by the way. These are tangible things that are going to be happening.
He's just explaining the Chips and Science Act and saying that what Trump's doing is better.
I believe it's either Toyota or Honda that announced that they're opening yet another manufacturing plant here in the United States to bring in materials from other places, but assemble them here in America. And the real point is we're trying to get even higher up on that river of production. So for instance, the Canadian steel goes into so many things that we use on a day-to-day basis that so many Americans say, well, hey, companies, it would be better for America as a whole, manufacturing jobs that Americans can have that increase our economy, increase our GDP, things of that nature, if we had that manufacturing here in America instead of, hey, let's do it in Canada.
I just think what you said right there about chips and manufacturing, that's not what Trump's saying. If we check this Truth Social right now, and we checked what he said about Canada over the past week, I can guarantee he's made 19 jokes about Canada being the 51st state and Trudeau being a governor. He has, and you're proud of that.
I wouldn't say I'm proud of it, but I don't have to take it so serious.
What's his?
Why would you not take that seriously? Look at his smile when I say that. He's like, he has made those jokes.
State and Trudeau being a governor.
Look at it. Why is he smiling about this?
He has, and you're proud of that.
I wouldn't say I'm proud of it, but I don't have to take it so serious.
What's his end goal? You don't.
Here's the thing. If Trump were to actually order an invasion of Canada, he would still defend it.
I don't think you should take that seriously.
You don't think you should take
the
words of
U.S.
so
president
seriously?
showing the same imperial ambitions that Vladimir Putin is showing?
I'm
over in
saying
Europe
I
right now?
don't take him saying, oh, the 51st governor of Canada seriously. Just like I didn't take people saying Joe Biden is, I'm not even going to go there. So many things people said about Joe Biden that I said, okay, listen, I'm not going to take that seriously.
But that's not what Joe Biden is saying. I'm saying he's saying the president of the United States of America is absolutely saying that. Why should we not take what the president says at face value? Also, it's fair to support a president without supporting every single thing they do. You do not have to blindly just accept that this is okay and continue to wait and wait and wait for it to work out. This is a bad idea. It's not working.
I mean, if things actually were bad, and I can man up and I could admit that, but again, we're 2 months in. I'm not going to be that guy that's.
We're 2 months in, and he's undone a lot of Biden's progress. He's pushed away our allies. The stock market dropped even more today. Let me remind you. So, I mean, I wonder if this dude would have admitted a few days ago when the stock market was at its low, and it's still pretty low, by the way. It tanked a lot more today due to Japan and China dumping bonds, due to the tariffs still in place. I wonder if he would admit that.
Stand by Trump with everything, because I disagree with things that Trump has done. But at the end of the day, I can't make such a big decision off of 2 months into a
He set a goal for the American economy, and instead of meeting it, he has done the opposite.
Yeah.
He said day one. He said day one.
But just how you've said that we can't look at, oh, well, in 6 months it will be better. Well, you guys are doing the same thing, saying, well, it's getting bad. In a couple months it's going to be bad. We don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. You guys can assume based off of what you believe, and we assume based off of what we believe. And so until it actually happens, we just won't know.
That was the first segment. What did he say just a second ago? He said, one second, let me re-listen.
Yes, but just how you've said that we can't look at, oh, well, in 6 months it will be better. Well, you guys are doing the same thing, saying, well, it's getting bad in a couple.
It is getting bad. It is getting bad. Any single economist that you would ever ask would say that tariffs are going to nuke the economy. So then the stock market and the economy shows signs of slowing down and doing bad, or doing terrible, and he would never admit this. Let's go to the next one, though. Then we talk about Mahmoud Khalil.
The same thing, saying, well, it's getting bad. In a couple months it's going to be bad. We don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. You guys can assume based off of what you believe, and we assume based off of what we believe. And so until it actually happens, we just won't know.
Who is Mahmoud Khalil, the anti-Israel Columbia University activist ICE arrested?
So ICE arrested Mahmoud Khalil. What's up, Mobile Mama? Nice to see you, Mobile Mama. Mahmoud Khalil was arrested by ICE, and they haven't really given a reason. At the time of recording, they hadn't.
Should Mahmoud Khalil be considered a terrorist? 3, 2, 1. Whoa, we all agree.
It's beautiful.
Who wants to jump?
I will go. So I don't think he should be deemed a terrorist. That is because a terrorist is somebody who has enacted a state of violence with an intention of coercion or intimidation onto another government. Where we might have a little bit of disagreement is he is right now he was arrested, he's being investigated, and he's up for potential deportation. I believe he was from Syria.
Yes.
I do agree with that. The reason is the president has the ability to deport an immigrant, that is, whether it's on a green card or a visa, whatever it might be, if they pose as a threat to the country. The reason why I believe he poses as a threat is because he's come out with not just pro-Palestine, that's another thing, but he's come out with pro-Hamas rhetoric, and Hamas in itself is a terrorist organization. He's outwardly supported that. He has put together groups
We don't have any proof of him doing this, by the way.
to outwardly support that, and in the state of where we're at, in the state of the world, in the state of the country, I think that is the wise decision. Because you can play the devil's advocate of, well, he hasn't done something, but if he's outwardly shown evidence and outwardly expressed potential future of doing something, I think that is the wise decision.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
If we're going to deport people who are threats to our country and spread anti-Semitic propaganda, can we start with Elon Musk?
I was about to say that.
That dude
he
Sieg Heiled.
literally just
He
Sieg
Sieg Heiled
Heiled.
twice, but also
Okay, we can't talk about this because there's
too
so
much.
many liberal politicians that have done the same.
Sieg
not the
Heiled?
same thing. No,
No.
Kamala
He
waving
didn't see
to a
Heil.
crowd.
They didn't. Liberal politicians have not done the same thing. Kamala one time waved to a crowd and extended her arm out, and they're saying that's the same thing as Elon beating on his chest. That dude was beating on his chest.
Hey, listen,
Yes,
this
he
is,
did.
and it's so funny. I'm going to use something against y'all. If y'all are going to say he's Sieg Heiling, then you're both ableists.
I'm ableist against Nazis, or the type of autism that makes you a Nazi, which doesn't exist.
Elon Musk has Asperger's
What?
syndrome. He doesn't really, he's not always cognizant of how things are looking or what that looks like from the external perspective.
Can I ask another real question, though? Does it ever worry you guys that Trump labeled Mahmoud a threat to national security, correct?
Yeah.
And they're using that justification. What if the next administration has a completely different definition of what a threat to national security is, and they think that, I don't know, like a January 6er is a threat to national security?
here's the
Well, I
Isn't
think
this a
thing, they
slippery
did.
slope?
supporting an outward terrorist organization kind of is worthy of being deemed.
First of all, we don't even know if Mahmoud Khalil was openly supporting Hamas. That's something they keep regurgitating, and I tried to fact check it, but I don't know if they made it in the cut. Secondly, the idea that you can deport somebody because you unilaterally deem them as a threat to national security, that is a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope, man.
But I'm saying, I think that is a threat to national security, but if the president is the one deciding who is a threat to national security unilaterally, it's kind of scary, right?
Well, I
Is
don't
that a
think-
slippery
Well, I don't think
slope?
the
I think
president's
it
the one
is.
deciding.
But he is the one deciding. I mean, he's actively been deciding.
Donald
has-
Trump was the one who, yeah.
Well, he has the ability to, I guess, push for the investigation, but he's not the one that's actually
He was the one deciding.
making the
So
decision.
who was
There
he?
was not
who
there was not a
decided-
single change in policy.
So can
by
I ask
Trump.
who decided that Mahmoud Khalil should be detained? Like whose decision?
And what was he
that?
charged? Wasn't he not charged with anything yet?
Like Mahmoud Khalil
I
has
think
not
it's
actively.
still being investigated.
Isn't that
He's never
weird that-
committed a crime.
Here's the thing, and this is going to kind of breach into different territory, Patriot Act type stuff. He doesn't have to commit a crime to be deported, particularly if his, allegation is for supporting a terrorist
But he didn't get any due process. He had no chance to defend himself.
organization, which is at this point irrefutable. Even if he's not exactly a terrorist, even if he's not blowing things up or anything like that, if he's a member of an organization at Columbia University, which itself on October 8th said, we are in full support of what is happening with Hamas. We support violent resistance or something like that.
So to Adam's point, if a government, the executive branch, if a presidential power has the authority to decide what group is a terrorist, and then has the authority to decide how much a person's affiliation with any group deems them a terrorist, if there is an organization that, like if there's a president after Trump
who deems that a group that you are in support of is a terrorist organization? Like, how are we deciding who is a terrorist organization, who is in favor of these terrorist organizations, and what level threat they are?
Well,
Exactly, and that kind of goes back to the whole debate that's happening right now regarding people being deported. There was the Maryland father that got deported, and that happened after we recorded this, so that wasn't a topic or anything that we brought up, but it's the same thing. If the administration is unilaterally deciding who they can deport or who even has a visa, then you can justify anything.
Because to me, it seems like a violation of his First Amendment right to speak on behalf of
You're making a weird face, but didn't he just, like, didn't he say stuff? You just admitted himself.
Your First Amendment right gets revoked the second that you incite violence
He didn't incite violence.
into another individual.
Did he incite
didn't
violence?
incite violence. That's
Wait,
the
did we have
issue.
any proof of what he's...
He supported the violence that has been done by Hamas.
I think it is
We have no proof of that. We don't know if he did that, and that's not inciting violence.
dangerous to begin labeling and deporting people on the grounds that they are a terrorist without due process. Because if any president can do that, then maybe the next president does that to people that you actively agree with. And maybe the next president isn't, I mean, I don't
Well,
personally
did he
think
label
that
him?
is-
Did he label him a terrorist? I thought they.
That's
just,
why he's being
I think the
detained
Trump
and
admin is labeling him, but
Yeah.
also I'm pretty sure he hasn't been charged. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's
Yeah,
no
he's-
charge.
he's-
Isn't that odd? Isn't that
No,
weird?
he's never
this
been
is-
charged with a
this
crime.
is
Scary.
more- well,
Yeah.
he's not an actual citizen, for one, and for
Still
two,
probably got
He
charged.
does have a
there's-
green card, though.
He does have a green card, but
You still get due process if you're not a citizen, right? Or I don't mean right. It's a fact. You still get due process if you're not a citizen. If you're on American soil, the First Amendment applies. The Fifth Amendment applies. The Fifth Amendment gives you due process. It's not whether you're a citizen. It's whether you're a person on U.S. soil. They explicitly say that in the Constitution.
which they have the power to revoke. This is more of a question of how much do we want to allow the government to have power? Because I think what we might actually surprisingly all agree upon is that the government probably needs to have a little bit less power in this regard, in regards to citizens. Like, I am not really in support of the government being able to say, oh, well, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, if you are a naturalized citizen. Mahmoud Khalil was born in Syria. He came to America on a student visa and then acquired a green card, which is, hey, a great thing. But and I'm not saying he's a terrorist, but unfortunately the government has so much power that in the eyes of the government, supporting a group that itself issued a statement in support of a terrorist group, by extension, makes you not necessarily a terrorist, but able to be deported for terrorism.
I don't think that green card holder
He does sound like Ben Shapiro. You're right. Someone in chat said, why does this kid sound like Ben Shapiro?
Of a terrorist group, by extension, makes you not necessarily a terrorist, but able to be deported for terrorism.
I don't think that green card holders should have less constitutional rights than natural-born citizens.
Well, that's a fundamental disagreement.
Yeah,
The First Amendment should apply to anybody.
I think that, yeah, exactly.
It
I think
does,
that everyone
and it
who is
does.
here legally should be protected by the First Amendment, and that includes him.
Can you guys see where I'm coming from when I say this does worry me from the perspective of free speech in the First Amendment? Conservatives should know or should love free speech more than anybody, apparently. It creates this chilling effect almost where people are scared to voice their opinion, and you probably shouldn't be voicing pro-Hamas opinions. But now what if there's like a pro-Palestinian protester who's a little bit worried? It creates this chilling effect, and it's almost like a slippery slope. Not to use the slippery slope fallacy, but it does sometimes scare me when the government is, without even charging people, detaining them because he didn't charge them.
No, and I know, but
Detaining.
And this case is setting a precedent on what that means going forward. Like right now it's Mahmoud Khalil, but who will it be next time?
And can I just say,
well, that already happened to January 6 prisoners. They did get charged, but so many of them were sitting without trial that we had to issue a blanket pardon because
Lord have mercy. This is a funny moment as well. Someone in chat said, just because he agrees with Palestine being free doesn't mean he agrees with everything their government does. I agree with that as well. Absolutely. Just because this dude was supportive of Palestine does not mean he was a pro-Hamas violence dude. It's odd.
some of them hadn't
that
seen
is
the light
not
of
why
day.
there was a blanket pardon. They were not sitting there without a trial. They had due process just like everybody else. Can you guys name one J6er who didn't get due process?
Not off the top of my
Sorry
head.
to put you on the spot like
necessarily.
that, but like, come on, if you're saying that these people aren't getting due process, there should be somebody who you have like a prime example, like a strong
There
example.
were individuals from J6 that were just released like a month ago because they've been in prison this entire time.
Is your source Truth Social? Because
Okay, well,
don't
I
think-
can mention
Literally, what is the source?
somebody.
One of my sources is someone that was actually there.
Oh, you know someone that was there? That sounds like a reliable ass source. A J6er themselves says they were targeted. Oh.
Kind of how you guys are going along the lines of like people being afraid to speak out. I mean, that's how Republicans have felt for the last 4 years because we would speak out. guys would be. Biden was on stage that was essentially comparing us to Nazis.
No, he
if
was
we support,
not.
Yes, he was.
What was
if we
the line?
supported, but he was
Guys, we're doing
comparing
so
us.
good.
Well, I'm saying there's.
You know what Biden said? This is what Biden said. He said, some Republicans, I'm not talking about all Republicans. I'm not even talking about most Republicans. But there is a wing of the Republican Party that is now MAGA Republican. Or he said something that was like, he put down the MAGA Republicans, which is true. But he clarified, not all Republicans.
Video evidence of it. He was comparing MAGA believers to Nazis.
No.
So to
And
my
I think
point-
that made us afraid, but I think that's why we have those definitions in line,
So
is
to my
to
point,
be able to have those checks.
Like if the next president is a Democrat and they label organizations that are speaking out in favor of the far right as terrorist, and any green card holder who speaks out in support of your causes is now a terrorist and can be detained and deported without due process, that would hurt your cause. So right now it's pro-Palestinian protests and it's pro-Hamas, but next time it can be anyone, and that's the fear.
And we all have the same color, so I know that we're at each other's necks a bit, but we all agree that definitionally he's not a terrorist. We all agree that the government should probably be a little bit more careful with who they choose to target and deport. I mean, hey, if there are conservatives being unfairly targeted by the government, I'm not okay with that. We've sat here and talked for a while now. You know that I'm genuinely not okay with the government censoring conservatives or all of these, whatever you guys think the Biden administration was doing. And yeah, so I mean, we can all agree that the government should probably be more careful when they're targeting people who are just protesting.
Luigi Mangione's journal, not manifesto, about healthcare industry grievances. Attorney argues. Was Luigi Mangione justified?
The next topic is Trump, Putin, and Ukraine. I don't really care about the Luigi topic as much as I care about Ukraine, but that's just personally.
3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
Okay, so before you all attack the hell out of me, I want to say Luigi Mangione hasn't been tried yet. The trial is not completed, and he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I think that going into this debate, it shouldn't be about whether or not he killed the CEO of United Healthcare, because we cannot claim that yet. And I've had a lot of
The Luigi question was just bait, yeah.
discussions about Luigi Mangione under the presumption that he's done it and that he is the person who did it. And I'm not going to
But he
give my
definitely
opinion.
did do it. He definitely did do it. Well, here's the thing. There's two separate things we can argue about. The legality of the trial, which we should probably stay away from, or the morality of what...
I don't want to argue about the morality of killing the CEO of healthcare, because I think it is immoral to kill anyone, regardless
So then
of
we
your
shouldn't argue
grievances.
about this at all.
What I think he is justified in is his grievances with the United States healthcare system.
Can we all agree with this fundamental fact? He's justified in his grievances, as you said, about the healthcare system, not justified in the killing.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke, what do you... I see you sitting there. Healthcare is perfect.
Because therefore that was the reason that he killed him. And I don't think any reason to kill anybody is ever justified.
Well, that's
I
what we're
think
saying. We're saying that
he's
the
separating
killing is
from
not justified. But if you separate the act from the reason for the act, I think that it is justified to have grievances with the U.S.
I think it's hard for
health
me to
system.
separate that.
Well, here's the
That's
thing.
fair.
Here's the question.
That's fair.
Do you think the healthcare industry in America is kind of fucked?
That's basically what mine is.
I mean, yeah, I think healthcare and insurance.
So he was justified to be worried, but then everything he did after that. I guess the argument that I'd make for why you can't just kill people in the streets, which we all seem to agree on this, is that it weakens the cohesion of a society, number one. But number two, I think one of the beautiful things about America is that there are many avenues for our voice to be heard. So even if you don't vote, you can go out there and protest. You can call your representative. You can post online. There are 100 different ways for your voice to be heard, and none of those should include just murdering someone in the middle of the street. That's probably not an avenue that we should take in America. If you're living in an authoritarian country and that's the last resort, that's a different conversation. But we live in America, and this dude seems pretty smart, right? Luigi Mangione could have just gotten a degree in medicine and just helped people, actually helped people. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all this, the thing that's frankly disgusted me the most is how many, I'm not targeting them, but it's just I've seen it the most, is a lot of these liberal women are almost making him a hero.
Let me go close this front door.
Talking about how he was handsome, and it's almost like this weird fetish.
They did that with Ted Bundy too.
No,
It's not-
yeah, and I think
it's just a societal thing.
Do we live in a society where it's that stuff is celebrated? And I think that's what, out of this whole thing, really it really disgusted me.
Did you notice the online reaction to Luigi Mangione? A lot of people in the comment section of videos were like, not supportive, but they understood where he was coming from healthcare-wise.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people hide behind their screens and
For
say
sure.
things they wouldn't
But
say in
can
person.
you
I mean,
understand?
well, now we're here in person, and I
Yeah,
will say, as
yeah.
one of these liberal women, I do not support the killing of anyone.
Right.
I mean, he hasn't been tried yet, and I
Yeah.
don't want to make a claim to his guilt or innocence. With that being said, I do think that it's fair to have grievances with the United States healthcare system. It's objectively broken. I think that I know I've personally experienced issues with the healthcare system not providing for me in times when I really needed it. I'm sure many of you have and witnessed that within your families. And I think that the reasons that he was upset are very much valid. But what he did with that upset, with his anger, was not.
An interesting argument that I've heard is when you say that Luigi Mangione shouldn't be able to unilaterally kill anybody, people on the other side, I don't know if I agree with this, they'd say that Brian Thompson, the CEO, was making the decision to kill people.
Yep, again, if you're enjoying this debate, make sure to hit the like button. And thank you all for being here. This is a fun watch.
With his healthcare company. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but if I want to provide the alternate argument of what people would say. What do you think about that, Chandler?
I think it's a very great. It's a very great. It's great that you mention it. I actually kind of want to ping this to Naima. Do you agree with that argument?
That Brian Thompson, I think that Brian Thompson arguably should have been tried. Like, I think that, again, going back to due process, Brian Thompson was denied his right to due process.
That's fair.
Do I think that he was, like, somewhat responsible for the deaths of 400,000 people? Probably,
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, great.
But at the same time, he shouldn't have just been shot dead in the street
Right.
because
Probably
of
not
that.
a cool
He should have
thing
been
to do.
tried and gone to jail.
With that information in mind, even though you're green, I think we probably might be able to come to a middle ground again of saying Luigi Mangione is justified in his grievance, not justified in the alleged murder.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Boom, we're done.
Alleged murder.
Handled.
Sure.
Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering all these
position to
questions.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
You
We're
will-
gonna feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're gonna feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about it.
I hate watching this clip.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have the
saying
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're
you-
gambling with World War III.
Okay, the question is Trump favoring Putin? 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Trump is very clearly taking Putin's position on this war. He's very clearly playing hardball with Ukraine, and he's gotten nothing from Russia thus far. I think, just to zoom out for a second, Trump has a unique form of narcissism where he's attracted to powerful people. If you guys think he's not narcissistic, you guys are way behind us right now.
I think every politician's narcissistic.
Trump has a unique
I think he's exceptional.
Trump has a unique form of narcissism where he's attracted to powerful people. You can see this when he talks about his love letters with Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un, or when he talks about Vladimir Putin. He comes up with nicknames for Trudeau, but what's his nickname for Putin? He has no nickname for Putin. This proves my point. This dude plays soft
Nicknames?
with Putin. Yeah, Trump's
that's what it's about.
That's kind of Trump's whole thing. Like, part of his claim to fame in American politics was coming up with nicknames. So when he comes up with a nickname for Newsom, which he calls New Scum, DeSantis, DeSanctimonious, even Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, but no nickname for Putin? Isn't that odd?
I mean, you could say the same thing about Kim Jong-un. He calls him Rocket Man.
We're
Kim
talking about
Jong-un's
Putin right now. We're
relatively
talking about
powerful.
Putin right now.
Okay, the one person he doesn't have a nickname for.
And that's the point. Wait, he just made my point for me. He doesn't have a nickname for one person.
Same with Xi Jinping.
'Cause
but
he has-
nothing about Rocket Man.
Because he's attracted to power. Vladimir Putin is a source of narcissistic supply for Trump, and Zelensky has that lack of supply. So he feels like he can demean him. He feels like he can deride him in the Oval Office because he views Zelensky as weaker than Putin. This is how Trump operates. I would love to think that Putin has some sort of dirt on Trump, but that's not what it is. Trump has a narcissistic brain, and he's attracted to Putin. But if I can just say one more thing.
go.
I think that Donald Trump is only legitimizing Putin's imperial ambitions when he tries to give a peace deal or sign a peace deal with no security guarantees. This whole debate should center around security guarantees, in my opinion. But
I mean, I think I don't like the word favor because it's like there's a positive connotation. I think what Trump's doing in his relationship with Putin is exactly what I would be doing as a businessman. I think as what he's doing as a businessman.
What, kissing up to Putin and ceding all of your leverage? By the way, Trump has lost any leverage that Ukraine has for them. The whole point of having the US as an ally is because right now Russia is a big country. Russia has a lot of land, so therefore they have the leverage, unfortunately. Ukraine is trying to meet Russia with the leverage, and the way they do that are through security guarantees, through weaponry, through being supplied. But what Trump did is he removed intel sharing, he removed weapon supplies, he lost Ukraine so much leverage that now Russia's winning.
When you're making deals with business, it doesn't matter if you like someone or dislike them, you get along, you don't get along. The number one thing is to maintain a cordial relationship.
He didn't do that with Zelensky in the Oval Office.
Well, because here's the thing. If anything happens and things go south and we're at the brink of World War III, America is going to be a lot more afraid of Russia than they're going to be afraid of Ukraine.
You guys realize that
Considering Russia is one of the powerhouses of the world, maintaining
No, they're not. They were supposed to get to Kyiv in 3 days, and that was like 3 years ago.
a cordial relationship with them is a lot more crucial than maintaining a relationship
This
with
is just-
Ukraine.
I don't
Ukraine
think
has
that's
just
This is-
taken
yes.
Ukraine has
This is
taken
just- yes.
advantage of the United States, of our hundreds of billions of dollars, and they've done nothing with it. Zelensky's went and got all his flashy things, and he's been living a good life.
Can I
But-
jump
But
in
how
real
are they
quick?
taking advantage? They're actively at war. They were attacked by Russia. That's
But
not
why
taking
is not
advantage of
not
US
all that
aid.
money is being used
Well, can
into
I say
military
something?
and aid?
We're not sending money over there. 80% of what we sent are military. It's military equipment, old stockpiled equipment that we now
Not all
don't
of
have
it
to
is
dock
old.
out. I'm
Some
80.
of it is actually
about
new
80% of it.
experimental tech.
But here's the thing: it's
ahead.
stockpiled military equipment that we would have had to dispose of anyways, and it's very expensive to dispose of. It's toxic. This military equipment. So rather than disposing of it, we send it over to our allies, and our allies have been using it to protect their border against Russia. And I just want to say, we can all agree, if World War III does start, the onus would fall on Russia because they're the one that started this invasion, and likely Putin has more imperial ambitions. Can we just say that if World War III were to start, the onus would not fall on Ukraine?
I have a question. Should I start shooting a bunch of clips of this debate out on my social medias? I posted 1 or 2 clips, but I didn't really want to flood my feed, but I'm going to start posting a bunch of clips from this, see if any go viral. I think that'd be good.
I mean, I don't think there's any you can make that claim.
You can,
in
very
such-
clearly.
I
in
mean,
such
if Russia
certainty.
openly
Absolutely.
attacks
You don't think people will get tired if I post for a few days a bunch of clips? I think that's the goal.
the Ukrainian border and begins a war that turns into World War III, it started with Russia's attack on Ukraine.
Okay, but I mean, I think in that instance, it's going to be important that we maintain a cordial relationship.
I
with
disagree
Russia.
with this as well.
Well, now you're at war. You don't have to maintain a
Ru-
cordial
the
relationship.
idea
Yeah, but
that
it's
we're-
better to be at war having cordial relationship with
definitely gonna be
Russia versus
posting
Russia
some-
being our enemy in.
But Russia,
Hey,
I'm definitely going to be posting some shorts from this.
to start World War III, I would hope that they would be the enemy of the United States.
And can I just
for
say,
starting a world war?
well, I
Right?
don't think Russia's our friend, but you need to have cordial relationships, just as we have with that we're hoping to have with China and these other powerhouses.
So
in
it's
the
funny
world.
that you say that we need to have cordial relationships with Russia,
But not
when it
Zelensky.
came to Canada, we don't need to have cordial relationships, and it's okay to make jokes. When it comes to Ukraine, it's okay to make jokes, and we don't have to have cordial relationships, and it's okay to fight. So I mean, that kind of goes into the point of him favoring him, because the only one who he is willing to have a cordial relationship with is Russia. But in all of these other instances, he's openly dismissive. He's openly offensive, he's openly insulting, and I think that that does show a sense of favorship.
All right, let's jump in on Trump and the Russia connection, because as cordial as it's kind of like an inverse thing. Like, the more cordial Trump is with a country, the sterner he is with that country.
Really?
Yes. Vladimir Putin, during the election cycle, said he would have endorsed and voted for Biden if he could have.
He's playing games, dude.
Okay,
He's Putin.
let me
It's
say this.
Putin.
Yes, it's Putin. But then at
He's
that
taking Putin at face value. This is exactly why Putin does it.
same time he said, okay, well, Kamala's here, she laughs funny, Biden endorsed her, I like her. At that same forum where he was speaking about this, when asked, how does this really affect you, Putin said, well, honestly, Trump was the worst for Russia. There's more sanctions and everything than we had ever seen. And Biden was way easier on Russia. At the same time that Biden was canceling the Keystone XL pipeline between America and Canada, he lifted the sanctions that Trump had placed on Russia, forbidding them from building the Nord Stream 2 pipeline between Russia and Germany. That was just a few months before Russia announced their invasion of Ukraine. I'm not trying to blame this at all on Biden. Obviously, what Russia is doing is wrong, and they are being very aggressive, and they are in the wrong on this. We all agree on that.
Yes.
But what I can also say is that Russia was capitalizing on what they viewed as a weak presidency
Nope.
to push forward into Ukraine.
Nope.
Just like they had with the Obama administration in Crimea.
So going
And
into
on
that,
top
if
of that,
Russia's capitalizing on what they view as a weak presidency, why would the response to that to be to exclusively be cordial with Putin and no one else?
Because, and like we've said many times, and like I just mentioned, is that when it comes to a fellow superpower, you have to tread lightly.
Other than
It
Canada.
Well, Canada's not really.
Or China.
Or China.
Canada's
Really a
not,
superpower.
Canada's
Or
not an
China's a
adversary.
superpower.
Canada is not a
I know,
superpower.
but I'm saying China.
So
So-
can I just debunk the idea that Biden was way stronger on, or sorry, can I debunk the idea that Biden was less strong on Russia? Russia was frozen out of the global order for the past 3 years. Nobody would talk or meet with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was literally like pushed out. They were shutting him.
Yes.
Trump has already brought him back into the fold. And what has he gotten? Trump has gotten tricked by Putin. Trump stopped sharing intelligence, U.S. intelligence with Ukraine. You remember that happening a few days ago, right?
Keep going.
Right when Trump stopped sharing U.S. intelligence with Ukraine. Say yes, that happened, right?
Keep going.
Just say yes, that happened.
No, but just keep going. I'm trying to hear you out here because I have something I want to
Putin
say.
took
but-
advantage of that opportunity to push forward. He literally made Trump look like an idiot. Trump stopped intelligence sharing. Putin took advantage of that. Off the back of that, he killed hundreds of Ukrainians. So the idea that Putin is negotiating in good faith is dumb. The idea that we should have a cordial relationship with Putin, who his entire existence is antithetical to the West, to our ideals. Putin's to his very core. Like if you did surgery and looked into this guy's heart, he's just anti-Western.
Look at the way Zelensky came into the Oval Office. One, this is something that I kind of take to heart. He comes in and he's not even wearing a suit. He's not coming in showing respect to these individuals. He's making jokes with
Elon
the
Musk.
conversation
So,
with
Yeah,
Trump.
Zelensky is an
And-
elected
And so
official.
it's like this guy, not just an actor politically, he literally is an actor. His background is an actor.
Number one, so
he's
is Trump,
putting
but-
on a show throughout
So
the
is
whole
Ronald
thing.
Reagan's, by the way.
So is
but-
Trump as like a reality show guy, but does it equally bother you when Elon Musk leads a cabinet meeting with a baseball cap on and like a meme t-shirt that says like, I am become meme, whatever the hell it said? Does that bother you equally? He's leading a cabinet meeting?
I hate the suit talking point, by the way.
Elon Musk is not the
Oh, so-
governor or what? Sorry, a president of a nation.
But you just said that it's disrespectful when someone doesn't wear a suit in the Oval Office, and every single
Not
day,
in the Oval Office
Elon Musk doesn't
specifically.
wear a
I'm
And
suit.
just
by the
saying when
way,
you're meeting
Now he's adding these qualifiers. Oh, it's not just about being in the Oval Office.
with these individuals
So
about
when you're
such
meeting
a.
with Trump, you should wear a suit,
And-
unless you're Elon Musk.
Unless
I
you're
think
Elon
when
Musk.
you're the
Or Kid Rock.
president of a country and you're meeting involving something as serious as this, and to be honest, Elon Musk is a character. It doesn't excuse it, but Elon Musk is.
Was
You just
Elon
said
Elon
Zelensky's a
Musk.
character. Well, do you know why Zelensky doesn't wear a suit? It's because his country is in war and he wants to show solidarity with the people on the front lines. You want him to. You know what was so funny? If Zelensky walked in there with a suit on, I guarantee Luke would be saying, "Look at Zelensky's spending all of our money on these lavish suits. Look at this."
No, I would.
No
I
matter what
actually
would
probably-
happen.
I wouldn't look up to
But
him,
can
but
you-
I'd have a little bit more.
Can you
I would
understand-
admire that because last time he showed up without a suit on, Trump said, "Hey, come back next time with a suit." It would have shown good faith. It would have shown that Zelensky is actually.
You don't
trying
think
to push
Zelensky's in
this
good
war.
faith? Zelensky's the one who agreed to the peace deal this week, and who didn't?
I think Zelensky's
Putin.
a joke.
So this is all just incredibly backwards, and I think you guys are very sucked up in right-wing propaganda. Can I ask you, do you understand why Zelensky cannot sign a peace deal without security guarantees?
What I understand is that we have given billions upon billions of dollars in the form of weapons and
You got to be a
research
politician,
and-
bro. You're
Yeah.
weaving around my
Okay,
question.
Yeah, can
no,
you just answer his question?
Yeah, can you answer my question? You just give me
well,
a
'cause
direct answer. Do you understand why security
You've given
guarantees
zero
are
direct
important?
answers for most
Ask
of
me
the
whatever,
points
man.
we've brought up.
Ask me
Why
whatever.
is it
You
that
can answer it.
America?
I don't
Why
know.
is it
You
that
can
America
tell
is is almost unilaterally in support of Ukraine?
We are not.
when
The
all-
EU,
when-
the European
when-
Union has put in more than us.
Yeah, maybe if you combine it all, maybe possibly, but like this has been almost entirely us, and we're
Other than the
we're-
fact that
we're-
if you
we're-
combine
and
it
we're
all,
try-
that
and
you
we're
just
trying, we're trying.
You guys get how that makes no sense. So he said, the US has put in more money than the EU. And I said, that's not true. The EU has put in more. And he said, yeah, maybe if you combine all the countries in the EU, maybe then it's more. It's like, what? Isn't that what the EU is inherently? It's all of the countries combined into one block, right?
We're trying to spread this around. We're trying to make it so that this isn't just going to continue going on forever. Because if we want it to go on forever, that's just going to kill millions upon millions of people. And the one thing that we want to happen is for less people to die. We want this war to end. And you guys were saying, oh, well, Trump said he would end the war on day one. It's not as simple as that. And I think it wasn't a good thing for Trump to campaign on these things ending on day one. But what I think is, yeah.
you
But
go.
yes, I'm going to be honest with you here. Russia is in such a position that unless you want to start World War III right now, they're going to get something.
You likely have to give Russia some land, yes,
Yeah.
but you also have to give Ukraine some security guarantees at the same time. And I keep
and
saying
I
that.
don't disagree with you.
But,
and I
but
think it
Trump
will be great.
Trump refuses to give explicit security guarantees. All he did was this mineral deal where he gets half of Ukraine's minerals, and there are no actual explicit guarantees. That's basically just conning Ukraine. Like, hey, I know that you're in the middle of a war. I know that your country's being destroyed, but we want half of your resources, and in return, You get nothing.
Okay, I think that the general thing that we can all agree on is that war is bad. We do not want to see Putin invade Ukraine anymore. We do not want to see the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. And we hope that Putin will agree to a ceasefire deal and honor that agreement.
I agree. You agree?
Sounds good.
Yes.
We're all on the same page.
Okay.
Is Elon Musk's DOGE a benefit to America? 3, 2, 1.
This one's fun.
So, from our red people here, I kind of want to get an understanding of what you guys consider a benefit to America, because I know what DOGE has done, and I'm trying to understand what you guys think has been harmful. So, for instance, Trump said during the joint session of Congress, $8 million to cut transgender mice, and people said, oh, it's transgenic. It was actually $8 million for transgender mice. Numerous other things, for instance, the Social Security going to somebody that was the age of 320 years old. That was real. We did eliminate that, and we're tracing to where that money has gone. How is this not a benefit when we see that if you add all these things up, it is billions upon billions of dollars worth of savings?
First of all, they have not illustrated that it was billions and billions. We can talk about that more, but I think that Elon Musk is unreliable and he's reckless in what he's doing. So I want more government efficiency. We can all agree. Step one, we all want the government to be more efficient. No one wants there to be waste, fraud, and abuse. So we can all start with that axiom, right? But the way that Elon Musk is doing it is not only reckless, but it's illegal. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. So when Elon Musk is using the executive branch to cut things and shutter entire agencies like USAID, you are subverting Congress. You are subverting their power of the purse. That's why people, have you guys seen those town halls of people yelling at their
I
representatives?
do also want to say you gave a lot of examples that were on cutting aid and subsidiaries to non-American. Like USAID is not working on actively this country. But DOGE has also fired a significant number of VA workers. DOGE has also fired a significant number of FAA workers. DOGE has fired a significant number of national parks workers. DOGE has fired a significant number of IRS workers. I mean, DOGE is not just cutting USAID, but what DOGE has not done is taken away money that was going towards subsidiaries for Tesla, which I think is kind of interesting and very much a conflict of interest on Elon Musk's part. I also, to the point about the transgender mice, can we just clear this up? Transgenic.
Yes, sir.
Not
Transgenic,
the same
but
thing.
they actually were for
if-
transgender mice.
No, it's not transgender. It's
yes,
transgenic.
I know,
Which is
but
not
even if
the
we
same
back up,
thing.
though-
some studies, there was one for transgender mice.
Even if we back up, what else are you going to do studies on? You do studies on mice. This is what you do. I mean, you do them on animals. You guys are acting like transgender mice is absurd in and of itself, but you can say like, oh, $4 million for Adderall mice. Yeah, they were doing Adderall studies on animals, but
if it was that, maybe it would have been more acceptable.
But that,
It is acceptable. That's the point that I'm making there, is that they're acting like it's this absurd thing. There's transgender mice running around with their tits out or whatever the hell. No, scientists do experiments on mice. That's how they do it. They do Adderall experiments, hormone experiments. They test out medicine. This is how science works, and it's messed up, but it's also necessary for the progress of medicine. So
that is what it
You
is.
need
Because
research.
the definition, hold on, pause.
Okay.
The definition of transgenic is not the same as transgender.
Oh, I
They are
know.
not
They're two
transitioning.
separate studies.
Can I
There
finish
was one for transgender
talking?
mice.
Can I finish talking?
If you want to.
Thanks. They are not the same thing. Transgenic does not mean transgender. What transgenic is doing.
by the way, if you're just joining the stream, this is the behind the scenes when I first walked in. I was like, wow. I'd never been on a set like this. Pretty cool.
First announced his terror.
Oh, whoops.
Is putting DNA of humans into mice so that we can study the effects of different medicines on mice and how they would act on the human body. That is a necessity because I would like to take medicine that is affecting me in the way that the medicine is supposed to. And we need to have studies that do that. So going away from the transgenic mice, I do want to address, like DOGE fired the workers who protect our military codes, specifically the nuclear launch codes, and then had to rehire all of them because no one else knows how to do that. That is inefficient. To fire workers without actually understanding what they do, only to realize that we actually need them, is inefficient.
Can I build on top of that?
Okay,
Please do.
if you guys want to just
Did
keep
you guys
going.
hear
Yes.
about the nuclear stockpile story? Because you listed all of your stories. Did you hear about the nuclear stockpile story in
I'm
particular?
not familiar with it. Why
Okay,
surprise
so
me?
DOGE and Elon Musk fired a bunch of nuclear stockpile workers, as
Yes.
Naima said, and then they realized 24 hours later, and you can look this up, these were uniquely qualified, highly specialized people who were maintaining and taking care of our nuclear stockpiles. So the Friday, they fired them on Thursday. They reached back out on Friday, but the nuclear stockpile people were locked out of their federal emails, so there was a bunch of downtime where our stockpiles couldn't be maintained. Two questions. Is that efficient? And is that helping America?
No.
Okay, so she's answering.
I just
or-
want to talk because you mentioned about it being illegal. So it actually is
I get no answer from them, by the way.
not illegal what he's doing. This was brought into law by Obama's administration. It's what we call is a special agency employee, special government employee, and so presidents have the right to appoint individuals to advise them throughout their administration.
Mm-hmm.
They get a 130-day period to basically run out their tasks. The only point of which what Elon is doing would be illegal is if he extends that 130 days. And so President Biden had the same what they call unelected bureaucrats. I forgot her name. Anita Dunn was like his right-hand woman.
Thank you for the gifted subs, by the way. That means a lot.
Yeah.
She was doing exactly what Trump is doing in the advising sense.
Well, can I just clarify? My contention wasn't with the fact that Elon Musk is an advisor for 130 days. It's that he's going around Article 1, which says that Congress can appropriate and allocate funds as Congress deems necessary. Congress has the ability to allocate funds with the power of the purse. Elon Musk unilaterally using the executive branch to shutter agencies like USAID or
But
other
he's
agencies.
not the one making the cuts.
He is. Him and his DOGE squad.
He's advising.
Oh, so it went through Congress.
He's advising.
Oh, so if it didn't go through Congress, then
He's
it's illegal.
advising to the elected officials that are allowed to be making these
So
cuts.
who fired?
The USAID workers.
Okay.
Yes, who fired them? Who was it? if
It wasn't
wasn't?
Congress.
He advised for the fire.
So it was the
who
executive
did it?
He
branch.
didn't do the actual fire.
So he advised his like 18-year-old DOGE dudes, or who did the firing? Because it was the
Whoever the
executive
elected
branch.
official is that's ahead of it.
Yeah, who
So
happens
if,
to be
if
President
he was
Donald
the
Trump.
one coming in and doing the cuts, that would constitute a need for an elected official. He's simply advising these individuals to do that.
Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, so for the nuclear thing,
Yeah.
that is bad, and it's
bad.
great, and I'm going to agree with you right there. And I think it's
appreciate
great
it.
that you mention it, and I think it's great that we can acknowledge that. Oh my gosh, if we cut things that don't need to be cut, we need to figure out and make sure those things.
Now, the annoying part is I had a really good analogy here. He gets to talk for a while here, but I had a really good analogy at the end here where he says that it's like doing surgery. Sometimes you have to do surgery. And I said, this is like the equivalent of having a tumor on your thigh, or sorry, a tumor on your ankle, and Elon Musk comes with a chainsaw and cuts off your whole leg. Surgery has to be precise, but they cut that part out, unfortunately.
As it adds up, then I say it's worth it.
Yeah, I still disagree with your entire thesis. I think surgery, something that is necessary with surgery, is precision. You have surgical precision when you do things, and that's not what Elon Musk is doing. So there is a trade-off. So if you're saying that we're saving Americans 10 cents, what's the trade-off?
It's just a number.
Is it 10 cents at the expense of our veterans hotline? Because I don't know if I'd be willing to make that trade-off.
Here we go. Kanye West says he's a Nazi. Kanye West says he loves Hitler. Now what, bitch? Kanye West says Hitler was so fresh. That's crazy. All right. So the question is, should Kanye West be banned from X? 3, 2, 1.
I'm the odd one out.
Wow.
It's okay.
I can jump in first.
I do agree with you, but it's okay.
I don't even have a strong opinion on whether he should be banned. I think ultimately it's the decision of the people who own X if they want advertisers on their app or if they want Kanye West glazing Hitler.
Yeah, this isn't really like a First Amendment thing. When people are like, oh, the First Amendment, Kanye can say whatever. No, I mean, when a private company or when a company like X or Twitter owns, they can ban whoever they want, is what I'm saying.
their app. It's definitely the decision of the people who own X, so Elon Musk. Broadly speaking, the reason I agreed is because there should be slightly stricter, maybe a lot more strict content moderation on Twitter. Twitter, like 4 years ago, was actually not that bad, but it seems like Elon completely removed all of the guardrails of content moderation, and now it literally feels like Nazi Germany when I'm scrolling through Twitter. I don't even follow these right-wing accounts, and right-wing accounts are at the top of my feed, so.
Yeah. I mean, just as a business model, like I used to use Twitter and I don't now because it's like not fun. Like,
All right, so the rest of the episode, I will link. It is about, so here's what the rest of the episode is. Kanye's tweets, we talk about Gen Z, we talk about dating, we play F, Marry, Kill, and then we do a closing. I'm gonna skip to the closing because we don't really want to success through the F, Marry, Kill part, but I will drop the link. This closing part is good. Let's watch this.
Not fair to murder someone despite how bad their actions may be to you. We all agree that it's important to have due process.
we
do
all
all
agree
agree
that we hate Putin.
We hate Putin.
Putin's not a good guy. All my homies hate him.
Yeah.
We also agreed that
He needs to find Jesus.
no, we didn't all agree on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's important to protect kids from on. The idea.
Oh, well, you're saying a
One second, I had a part where I'm talking about.
Made us fearfully and wonderfully, and I think also their stances on certain issues like transgenderism goes against the whole ideal of
Mary Vance. I mean, we agreed. Like when I looked.
and
Here it
of
is.
the pursuit of happiness, and we want that respected at every way, shape, and form in every direction.
I just want to point out we have 4 people of different political views, and usually when you go online, our ideologies would be tearing each other apart at each other's necks. But when you sit down and talk to people face to face in a democracy in America, we actually found a decent amount of common ground. I mean, we agreed. Like when I look Chandler in the eyes, we know that we both care about America. We both want the best for our country. But if I look up Chandler's Twitter account, I'd probably talk a little bit of shit. So.
Yeah, no, I also do think that we can all agree that it's important to have these discussions in person and not online.
Yeah.
Like, I think that this was like a much more productive conversation than I've had in any interaction online. I mean, we all agree that war is bad. I mean, we all agree that it's not fair to murder someone.
We tried to end it on a positive note. Thank you all for the donations. I really do appreciate it. Hack Job Garage. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Rad. Thank you for the gifteds, Melissa. And I'm going to leave it at that. Good debate. Go check out Jubilee on YouTube. Go leave some comments. Go watch the rest of it. Say Adam sent you. Go show some love. It's almost at 1 million views. We're trying to get it there. And thank you guys for watching. Peace out.